Who is Luxford Living? If you're like any of the thousands of 100% satisfied customers of the now Luxford Living, you may be asking yourself the same thing. If you go to Google right now, you won't get many answers. In fact, you won't even find their official website. The story begins as early as 2015 or 2014, depending on where you look, with a man named Michael Israel Katz. When he started Dasmen Residential LLC in New York, New Jersey, who knows really? Well, it was Delaware, on March 27th, 2015. Dasmen Residential LLC was formed in Delaware as a domestic LLC. So, Michael, whose real name is Israel Katz, however, he previously went by Michael I. Katz and has since dropped the I with their new marketing material and is now publicly known as Michael Katz, opens his property management firm. The next year, on June 2nd, 2016, Cypress Gardens WH LLC was filed and formed in Florida. Israel Katz was the sole authorized person on file. The address listed was 400 Rella Boulevard, Suite 212, Suffern, New York, United States 10901. Keep this in mind, as Florida is going to be a key factor here. Cypress Gardens WH LLC had its status revoked a year later on September 22, 2017 for failing to file an annual report. In 2018, Dasmen Residential LLC was filed in Louisiana, listing 3500 South DuPont Highway, Dover, Denver, 19901 as the domicile address, and 500 Rella Boulevard, Suite 212, Suffern, New York, United States 10901 as the principal business office and mail-in address. June 16, 2019, Dasmen's Louisiana business license would be revoked. 3 days later, Dasmen Residential LLC was filed in New Jersey at 581 Franklin Turnpike, Ramsey, New Jersey 07446. 6 months prior, Dasmen Residential LLC was filed in New York as a foreign LLC with a listed address of 400 Rella Boulevard, Suite 212, Suffern, New York 10901. The same year, Dasmen Residential was faced with the start of Akeem et al. Versus Dasmen Residential LLC et al. In the United States District Court, Eastern District of Louisiana. In this case, 124 plaintiffs, both employees and residents, alleged that Dasmen Residential et al., acting as the property managers, allowed deteriorating structural components of buildings such as roofs, plumbing, gutters, etc. to cause persistent water intrusion, spurring widespread mold infestation. It was also alleged that adequate security had not been provided, trash was not properly disposed of, insect, rodent, and reptile infestations were not addressed, and fire and safety codes were not adhered to. This case would continue until 2023. Despite all of this, in 2021, Israel would make some amazing moves. In February, Dasmen would begin offering $30,700,000 worth of unregistered securities. They would sell $30,210,000 worth. In March, Dasmen would acquire a portfolio of properties in Florida worth $101.3 million. And to close out the year, on October 12th, Dasmen Residential LLC would be filed in Florida. The same year, Dasmen Residential LLC was fined a measly $11,400 by the EPA for lead and environmental violations. Between October 12, 2021 and October 26, 2022, Dasmen Residential's LLC status in Florida was changed. On October 26, 2022, it was reinstated. Enter 2023. On January 19th, Dasmen Residential LLC's first annual report is filed in Florida. On May 30th, Dasmen Residential MGMT LLC is registered in Florida. This same year, a resident in Georgia would enter into an eviction lawsuit with Dasmen Residential LLC after they had withheld rent payments. The tenant claimed that they had been withholding rent payments because of a cockroach infestation that had gone long unaddressed. The tenant would go on to win the lawsuit and be awarded $25,000 worth of damages. However, they were left without payment for a significant period of time. In 2024, both Dasmen Residential LLC and Dasmen Residential LLC MGMT in Florida had their registered agent updated on the same day. This is in contrast to them filing annual reports on separate dates. Before we go into 2025, I want to mention a few things. The first thing is that this is one of my first times making a YouTube video like this, so if you've enjoyed it, I appreciate that. Thank you. The second thing is that this is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the LLCs and companies and variants of Dasmen Residential that have been registered. What I have covered is just a tiny rabbit hole. I haven't gone into it entirely, but I wanted to get this video out because this is recent. We're going to go all the way up until the last few days here. The two lawsuits that I have covered are just the two big major ones that I've managed to find information on, but Dasmen LLC has been involved in numerous lawsuits. Some of them are locked behind paywalls, so I can't necessarily access a lot of the information, but it's a lot. And so Googling into and looking into Dasmen Residential's lawsuits, that was the rabbit hole that made me want to make this video. That plus them rebrand into Luxford Living and a handful of other things. So that was all off script, but I'm going to go back onto script now. I had mentioned earlier Akeem et al. That case was dismissed in 2024 with prejudice because the specific thing that the plaintiffs were attempting to use in their suit was not exactly applicable to them. Additionally, apparently, not equipping workers properly for handling dangerous black molds is, if done unintentionally, completely fine. So with that being said, who is Luxford Living? Because up until 2025, Luxford Living didn't exist. Between its initial filing on May 30th, 2023 and February 18th, 2025, just like the previous Dasmen Residential LLC in Florida back in 2001, something happened which required Dasmen Residential MGMT to file for reinstatement. An annual report was filed for 2024 and 2025, and the LLC was reinstated on February 18th. On March 6th, 2025, Dasmen Residential LLC would file annual reports for 2024 and 2025 and be reinstated in the state of Florida. 2 months later, on May 6th, 2025, the domain name luxfordliving.com would be registered via GoDaddy.com. On August 6th, 2025, ReadyFix Enterprises Inc. would file a lawsuit in Hillsborough County, Florida. I can't find many details on the case, but it appears to be related to a failure to uphold or maintain the obligations of a contract. On November 2nd, 2025, luxfordliving.com would be registered via GoDaddy.com. This next bit is anecdotal and not well documented online. However, around the same time, residents of Dasmen Residential properties who had cable internet included as a portion of their lease had their internet disconnected after Dasmen Residential stopped paying for the service. Residents were notified first by the communications provider nearly 30 days prior, while Dasmen Residential management employees said they were negotiating with the communications provider for a certain cost and that the disconnect may or may not happen. Residents were given less than 5 days notice by Dasmen Residential prior to service disconnection and were asked to sign a lease amendment to remove the cost that was baked into their rent. That is the end of the anecdotal bit. Throughout this year, it would come out that Dasmen Residential and Israel Katz had a $128.15 million loan that was unpaid from Fannie Mae, the government-sponsored Great Depression-era enterprise dedicated to expand in the secondary mortgage market. And with that, 2025 was over. Dasmen Residential owes Fannie Mae $128.5 million, has stopped providing one of the more expensive yet non-required services to their tenants, are being sued by one of their repair companies for contract debts or failures to withhold. They have reopened their shell companies in Florida and laid the framework to rebrand and move away from their now tarnished name. The 2026 timeline is obviously relatively short. On February 6, 2026, the Instagram account @BrittanyHomes used the email bh@liveluxford.com in a post. This is one of the first instances of liveluxford.com on the internet. On February 23rd or 24th, 2026, residents of properties owned or managed by Dasmen Residential received a written notice stating that Dasmen Residential is restructuring and rebranding as Luxford Living, effective February 23rd. As of recording this video, Luxford Living's website does not appear in Google search results. Additionally, none of Dasmen Residential's LLCs have filed any documents reflecting this rebranding. Luxford Living LLC is available to register on all of the corporation databases that the foreign and domestic LLCs that I have talked about here exist within, and no companies are listed as doing business as Luxford Living. So, who is Luxford Living? In my opinion, and again I state explicitly this is my opinion, Luxford Living is Dasmen Residential's attempt to restructure and rebrand in order to escape the dozens of prior allegations that are tied to the name Dasmen Residential. It is part of Israel Katz's effort to get loans to buy or manage properties and do the bare minimum to upkeep them. In my opinion, Dasmen Residential does not care about their residents. They care about the money that they do not have because they already owe Fannie Mae $128 million. There is a clear record of residents claiming that the company does not do what they claim they are hired to do. There are court records of employees saying the same thing. There are court records of health risks. There are court records of cockroach infestations. So, who does Luxford Living say they are? According to Luxford Living, Luxford Living is a premier property management firm dedicated to the professional oversight and operation of multifamily communities in major markets throughout the United States. Our team utilizes sophisticated strategies to enhance property value and ensure long-term excellence in every building we manage. They operate with a hands-on management model that prioritizes efficiency, responsiveness, and results. Their focus and determination is only matched by their integrity, and they strive for perfection within every individual property. They have a 100% client satisfaction rate with 6,331 units across 25 properties in 6 cities. And of course, Israel Katz doesn't want his government name associated with anything, so Luxford Living's CEO is Michael Katz. That's who Luxford Living says they are. Who do you think they are?